This is the Unshadowed Thought Podcast with James Hall. This podcast is dedicated to Michelle Goyevich, Ed White, Caitlin Treacle, and I Chan, and also all the others that have lost their life as a direct result of psychiatric harms.
Okay. Welcome to day 12. I made a mistake and I keep calling this podcast day 11, but it's day 12. Obviously, the days are starting to blend together a little bit. So here you go. I say day 11. Here you go. Here's day 12 of the podcast. All right. Welcome to day 11. And today, feeling pretty good. Rough to wake up in the morning still, but not as bad as yesterday and the day before. It is odd. I feel like things are improving. A lot of the really just hard going and unpleasant sensations I was having and stuff seem to be lifting. I have feelings of well-being and definitely in the latter half of the day for me, but they're starting to permeate into the beginning of the day as well. Some of these feelings I haven't had or I'm not familiar with since before I had my TMS injury. So it's pretty seriously significant thing for me. Of course, it's only been like a day and a half of experiencing some of that stuff. So I'm not I haven't you know I don't take them too seriously yet. We'll see. I don't know if it's kind of a fleeting thing or whether, this is going to stick around and I'm going to feel good for the rest of my fast or keep improving the way I feel during the fast. I mean, certainly kind of expect it on some level, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. So, so yeah, what else? Okay, my throat's totally fine today. No issues with my throat at all. So we'll see how things play out. Obviously, keep going. These kind of feelings, man, a couple days ago, I was like, making day 30 is impossible, 40 is impossible, forget about it. Day 21, maybe, but I sincerely doubt it. And I was like, it's just so hard every day. And it seemed like these problems were popping up, and I was like, it's just, some part of you thinks it's going to get worse or it'll be impossible to make it that far just because it's so hard. You know, to be honest, a few times I was like, man, I'm going to end up in the ER or what? This is a part of the process. I think anyone that does this on their own is going to feel that way. I kind of mentioned it before, like you're going to have to overcome your fear of death or something bad happening to you before you do it if you're doing it on your own. I think if you were supervised, like staying in a clinic and a fasting clinic, it'd be different. You'd have doctors to reassure you, you'd feel safe. It'd be mentally, it'd probably be a lot easier. But if you're, if you're going at it alone, with minimal supervision, then there's definitely you definitely have to have your chiz together. So think about that. But it seems maybe I'm at a breaking point here where things are. I feel like I've kind of hit up maybe just maybe my gut's telling me I've hit a plateau, and that this plateau will carry me a long distance. And do I think it'll take me through to day 30 or 40? I don't know about that. That's a big ask here. I mean, we're headed towards 2 weeks. We're headed towards being about halfway done. But like if it took me to day 21 without any other major problems, I'd be pretty surprised. But I do feel like I'm gonna make it. Maybe I'll have like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 days of just maybe cooking without a lot of problems before maybe I have to deal with something else, which is a really, really good feeling because the stuff that comes up it's hard to deal with. I mean, you're already going through a lot. You're already mentally like in a very different state and stuff, and then having to think through and figure out and deal with stuff. different sensations and pain and stuff, it can be difficult. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. Some thoughts. I think one of the thoughts I came away with yesterday was being sedentary, I think is really, really important. Just minimizing the work that your body has to do during this process, I think is really important. I think it can, if you move around a lot and you're really active, I think it can trigger or give you sensations or put you in a spot where you feel like you're not making progress, or you're dealing with a lot of extra stuff. And to someone who is used to like, oh, working out's good, activity's good, all this stuff is good, that you think, oh, I'm doing the right thing, right? So any feelings I'm getting or any hardship that I'm having with the fast will be that, that's the fast, like, right, this fast is just too hard. But I had this kind of epiphany, or this thought just came on to me last night, that it's like, the fast is for being sedentary. The fast, like, working out is good, right? When you're taking in calories and you're doing all this stuff and you're just living your life, being active is very good. But when you're fasting, I think this is a paradoxical thing. When you're fasting, I think it flips, the paradigm around, and being sedentary is good. Being sedentary was giving you what you need. Having very, very low activity and being calm and peaceful about things, that's where you're supposed to be at that time. And doing the opposite creates adverse effects and reactions, right? Like, if you work out really hard, right? Say you don't drink water or electrolytes, like, you hurt yourself, you'll get kidney damage, bad stuff starts happening, and you get symptomatic, right? I think it's similar here, right? If you're sedentary and you let your body do what it needs to do during the fast, and you acknowledge that and you're wise about the fast, then your experience will align with that. But you have to listen. Whether you're running ultra marathons, or you're eating food, or you're fasting, there's one thing they all have in common: listening diligently to your body. I took a massive injury while running, and then after that, I had to recover from that, and I recovered better than I was at the beginning. But the key that I didn't understand at the time was listening to my body. When you're pushing yourself, like running 20, 30 miles at a time, you have to listen to yourself. If you start getting like certain kinds of pains in your foot, you're getting microfractures in your foot from running, barefoot through the desert, you have to listen to that stuff, and you have to stop when it's time to stop. You have to know when it's time to stop and when it's time to continue. There's certain pains and things that your gut will tell you, like, this is acceptable. There's other ones that are not. Life is infinitely diverse, individualistic, and difficult to sort through. Like, you have to listen to your gut. It's the evolutionary instinct. All the memories of all your ancestors are in your gut. They're in your intuition. They're telling you what to do. So the fast is no different. And yesterday I had this thing saying, there's these times where I was just moving around too much, like, just relax. And I know from the literature as well that they say, like, dude, you should basically be on bed rest the whole time of the fast. And I'm like, man, I can't just lay in bed the whole time. Like, I'll just, you'll atrophy, you'll get bed sores, all kinds of stuff. I was like, I know that's not literal. I know I need to stretch out and do a few things. And I know some of the other literature says that as well. Like, you need to move around, do stuff, of course. It's not specific on how much of what you should do, right? So that means you got to listen to your gut. You got to do what you think is best. But my opinion, my feeling, my gut's telling me that the vast majority of it is to be sedentary through this thing. And I think that's what's going to get you through to a longer period and get you through to deeper healing. I think if you're more active, it's going to be like kicking the door in as opposed to opening it and closing it softly. Like you kick the door in, like your body's going to react to that. There's going to be damage. There's going to be things, your body's going to be dealing with all sorts of stuff besides healing itself on the inside, right? Exercise is very much an exterior physiological building muscle, respirating, engaging your environment kind of thing. Fasting is the inverse, right? It's an internal, sedentary, reflective. Your mind changes, your whole consciousness changes. Everything going on inside of your body changes. Like it's the opposite. It's internal, it's sedentary, like it's calm. That's the vibe that I get from it. So thought I'd share that today. Those were my thoughts. Hopefully that's helpful. And if that changes, or, if I learn something different along the way, I'll let you know. The other thing was my blood pressure. So yesterday I almost passed out, basically passed out, just happened to make it to bed in time, and I kind of like blacked out, but I was still aware, and then came back to a really unpleasant experience. But I think I might've been holding my breath. So I borrowed a family member's blood pressure machine, and I'm like, my blood pressure, I was really suspicious that my blood pressure already runs low because I'm lean and I've ran a lot in the past. So I was already concerned that this would put my blood pressure low. I didn't even want to look at it because I didn't, admitting that to my family and stuff, that maybe my blood pressure was dangerously low. They'd be like, terminate the fast, and then I thought that might be reality. So I was like, I don't want to do that. I do not want to do that. I don't want to turn back after I made it this far. I was really worried about that, but I thought about it for like an hour, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. You need to know what your blood pressure is in this case, because you need to be able to make good decisions, and you can't be afraid of the reality and the truth of what's going on, no matter, and then you can decide from there, and then at least you can tell your doctor, and then he can say the same thing, and see. So I got blood pressure machine. I did it yesterday in the evening. Blood pressure is perfect. I'm like, well, wow, okay, that's interesting. I thought for sure it'd be low, like just my regular blood pressure would be low. Nah, it's perfect. So then I woke up this morning, like when it should be the worst, when I got passed out yesterday. Perfect. When I woke up. So my blood pressure is being regulated perfectly, as far as I can tell. But I know it's dropping when I get up. In the literature, there's this orthostatic problem with blood pressure. Like when you move around too quick, blood pressure drops and you pass out, right? I thought maybe I was different. I was over, again, because my blood pressure was on the lower side. So it's been normal, but it's been on the lower side always. And I was like, man, if it was on the low side, now it drops to below normal. Maybe it's a thing, but yeah, it's not. Like, it's not a thing. That's not what it's doing. So really, I'm matching the literature again, which is wild. Herbert Shelton, his book, Fine Art and Discipline of Fasting, I think, or whatever. The book is so incredible. There's so much. It's like 500 pages, maybe, 500 pages, I think, of just gold. And I read it, and it's fantastic. Right? I could tell by the detail and his perspective, but I didn't know until I started fasting. But sure enough, like so far, that book has matched perfectly to my experience with fasting virtually. So same thing, I think it was in there. And so I don't have the concerns about the blood pressure. I thought I did. You feel like your blood pressure is low because when you move around, you feel weak. You feel like you're going to pass out. Go slow. Go really, really slow. Go as slow as you need to go. And that's what I've been doing. And then since yesterday, since I started doing that, I'm feeling better. Again, with the sedentary thing, maybe this is, subconsciously where it popped up for me. All of a sudden, when I was resting more and moving around less, I felt much, much, much better. Right. And if this is the sacrifice, to continue the fast, this is not much to ask. It's not as if my blood pressure it's low and I'm just trying to keep myself alive, right? Or keep myself from passing out. No, my blood pressure is fine. When I move around too quickly, it drops. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. It's normal. It's to be expected for what's going on in your body, so yeah, that was a bit for today. So I'll pretty much leave it at that. Thanks a lot for listening. I hope you benefited, and we will talk to you tomorrow probably.